Tamola stood at the gates of Bangle Mansion, the massive iron structure towering above her, its intricate gold designs glistening in the afternoon sun. Her heart raced as she clutched the worn strap of her bag. The mansion was a world far beyond her own place she'd only seen in dreams. For the past 3 years, Tamola had worked as a nurse's assistant in a small, overcrowded clinic in Lagos. It paid poorly, barely enough to cover rent and food. But that all changed with a phone call that seemed almost too good to be true. Job as a private caregiver, a position that offered a salary 3 times what she made at the clinic. The condition: the patient was in a coma, and she would need to stay in his room. She hesitated for just a moment before taking a deep breath and ringing the doorbell. When the door swung open, she was greeted by a stern-looking butler in black and white who motioned for her to enter. Inside, she was overwhelmed by the luxury: polished marble floors, the towering chandelier, the gold-trimmed furniture. She had never seen anything like it. The butler led her through the mansion to meet Mrs. Bangle, a regal woman in her 50s who sat on an elegant white couch, her sharp eyes studying Tamola. She wasted no time, explaining that her son, Toby, had been in a coma for 3 months. Tamola would be responsible for his care, including bathing him, changing his clothes, and ensuring he remained clean at all times. The nurses would come weekly, but she would be his primary caregiver. Tamola's heart raced as the weight of the responsibility sank in. But the promise of a new life for herself was too tempting to refuse. Mrs. Bangle mentioned that Tamola would need to sleep in Toby's room since he couldn't be left alone at night. She was to treat him with dignity, but he was no longer the man he once was. As Mrs. Bangle led her to Toby's room, Tamola felt like she was stepping into a world she didn't belong in. The room was massive, with dark mahogany furniture and towering bookshelves filled with expensive-looking books. But what captured her attention was Toby himself, lying unconscious in the center of the room, a machine beeping softly beside his bed. Tamola was to sleep in the adjoining bed, right next to him. It felt strange, but she pushed the thought aside, reminding herself that this was her job now. Each day, she took care of Toby, speaking to him, reading to him, and trying to make him as comfortable as possible. Despite the silence, she believed that he could hear her. And then one day, something happened. While she was talking to him, a single tear rolled down his cheek. Tamola was in shock. He had heard her. It was the first sign of life she had seen in him in months. She rushed to tell Mrs. Bangle, who was equally shocked. Together, they watched as Toby slowly began to respond, his body gradually coming back to life. Tamola continued her work with determination, pushing Toby to take his first steps, to regain strength, to live again. And as the weeks passed, something unexpected happened. Toby's gratitude for her grew into something deeper. He fell in love with her. At first, Tamola tried to deny it. She had always been just his caregiver, someone who was there to help him, not to be loved. But the more she interacted with him, the more she realized that maybe, just maybe, he was right. What they shared wasn't just gratitude, it was love. She hesitated, unsure if she could let herself feel the same way. After all, they came from 2 completely different worlds. But Toby wasn't ready to give up. He sought help from his mother, and with her encouragement, he expressed his feelings to Tamola. "I love you, Tommy," he told her, his voice steady, but filled with vulnerability. Tamola was taken aback, unsure of how to respond. But in that moment, something shifted. She realized that love wasn't about the circumstances or the worlds they came from, which about the connection they shared, the moments that had brought them closer. The days that followed were filled with new experiences, small steps, both physically and emotionally. Toby regained strength, and their bond deepened. What started as a job became something more. Tamola found herself falling for him too. And one day, under the glow of a setting sun, Toby took her hand, dropped to one knee, and asked her to marry him. "Tammy, you've been with me through it all, and now I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Toby, I will." Their journey had started in a world of pain, but it had led them to something beautiful. A love that transcended the past, healed wounds, and brought them together. As they danced at their wedding, surrounded by friends and family, they knew that their story was just beginning, a love story that would last forever.